if we rewind back, obviously before the craziness in the Middle East, and we rewind back to I call that like that Netflix chapter, that series, that season that was going on, the Ukraine Russia, and you were one of the few that were really speaking out, you know what I'm saying, and really calling it. And now, like when we see where we're at
I found about 40 guys, serious players, right? Guys like Greenwald and Tucker, and there were guys who were getting the story.
Yeah.
First of all, to say Putin's an evil madman is to ignore the fact. I watched every Putin speech he ever gave. And there's subtitles. People say, well, how do you know the subtitles are real? I said, well, there are people who speak Russian, so that'd be kind of a stupid scam to try to put fake subtitles, right? I watched every Putin speech. The guy is unbelievably good at that shit. And so he gets asked questions. You go, oh, that's a tough question. Then he answers. You go, oh, that was a good answer.
Yeah.
He's put it this way, he's way sharper than Trudeau, Biden, Macron, Boris Johnson, these guys. And so the problem with Putin and the problem with Trump is they are the two biggest nationalists. The globalists don't like nationalists. So they got to take those two out.
But you think Russia's stronger now since all this is?
Oh, Russia's way stronger.
Strongest it's ever been?
Well, I don't know about ever. That's a long time. But Russia made a couple tactical mistakes where when when the Ukraine war first started, I drove my wife nuts because it would be on the news. And I'd say, Candace, this isn't a war. And she'd say, yeah, of course it is. What are you talking about? I go, look, this is not Saving Private Ryan. This is not Baghdad Day One with buildings blowing up as far as the eye can see. This is Russians and tanks getting out, talking to people, grandmothers on film whining about something in Ukrainian with subtitles, with their machine guns to defend Mother Ukraine. Something exploding so many miles away, don't know what it is, burnt cars. I go, burnt cars? That's Detroit. So actually, when I wrote about it, I showed 6 pictures of Ukraine. They said, sorry, I duped you. That one's Baltimore. That one's Detroit. That one's Lebanon. That one's, and then I said, that one's Ukraine 2016. And I said, see how easy that was?
Especially with AI and the deep fakes now.
But you don't need deep fakes. You just need to show images. Remember, there was this hellacious firefight that turned out to be filmed in the shooting range out in the Midwest.
They had the Snake Island story or whatever.
Oh, the Snake Island story, everything. So the first thing I noticed is it wasn't a war. It just wasn't. He sent over, it was a military intervention.
Yeah.
And I believe that he believed that it was like a fastball past the chin of NATO saying, look, we can play this the way you're trying to make me play it. And then he thought he'd get him to the table. His miscalculation was NATO didn't give a shit. And so NATO's now allowed an estimated 400 to 500,000 Ukrainians die.
Oh, a lot die.
To piss off Russia. Now, do you think the mothers of those dead Ukrainians would agree with that? Do you think? No. The answer is no, because in that region of the world, borders are changing all the time. There's not a shred of evidence Putin wants to reassemble the Soviet Union. There's one clip they play where Putin says the biggest disaster was when the Ukraine totally fell apart, when the Soviet Union totally fell apart. People say, see, he wants to put the Soviet Union back together. No, then he followed that with, it's because it released a bunch of countries who are rudderless and directionless, and it was chaos. So he said this was a disorderly solution. That's rational. But they said now, I don't think he didn't want to ever take possession of Ukraine. He just couldn't give the control of Ukraine to NATO because we have been lying our asses off to Putin for 15 years now. We have been lying our asses off.
That was the line in the sand that Ukraine doesn't join NATO or it's on.
And he told us that repeatedly. He said, look, guys, you've been moving NATO east since you promised not to do it. And we promised not to reassemble the Warsaw Pact, and you broke your promise and we didn't. But now you want Ukraine. You can't have it.